You got nowhere to fucking run. You self-proclaimed, unrenowned GOAT of the Outlast Trials?
Shit! Fuck you, Franco! You can't kill me, because I must join the new Reagent. No! My new friend! On escaping the Senyala facility together. We must escape together. I promised them. And I know you won't do anything to me, you piece of shit, because I'm an unrenowned GOAT of the Outlast Trials!
Finally, I fucking got him!
Fuck. I think I need some ibuprofen. I think I have a headache. Oh, hello, new Reagent. I thought you escaped the Senyala facility, but you came back for me? You really are a true friend that has the skills and knowledge that you need to survive here. And if we don't die in those trial environments, we might just have some soft tacos later. But now that you're basically just like me, after that ultimate guide, you have all the knowledge to get through this. But fuck Franco! I can't believe he blew my head off! If I ever see him again, I'm gonna shove that pacifier down his throat using my entire arm until he vomits all over it like I was scrambling his brains with the jammer. But thankfully, I have been patched up by Senyala's finest. So now that I'm all better, and I've been out for 2 months, I wonder what's been going on in the Senyala facility since I've been out.
Escape was the injury. Relapse was triage. Now, it's time for the surgery. It's time for invasion.
Oh, fuck. Well, shit's getting interesting. But before we continue, just like I said last time, the Outlast Trials is a live service game where more content is gonna get added, leaving this video and my last video outdated in a couple months. And I feel like it's very important to mention that because Red Barrels totally caught me off guard, as originally this video was supposed to just be for the PvP mode, because that was enough content to warrant a brand new video. And I wasn't planning to make another guide style video for the game until my eventual definitive guide to the Outlast Trials, which I'll put out when the game is announced to stop receiving content. But in Season 5, I was only expecting Otto and Aurora to get a new trial environment and a few new MKs. Nothing too crazy. But then, when I was recording the audio for the PvP video, Red Barrels just casually announced that we're getting a brand new Prime asset for Season 5. Which is weird, because with that stupid, ugly, rat-looking motherfucker Franco, it seemed like a trend of Red Barrels to release a Prime asset, and that Prime asset would get the next year's worth of content. And maybe we would get a new X-Pop every now and again, so people assumed the same for the brand new Prime asset, Otto and Aurora. But, no, Season 5 is not giving us a new enemy, but a brand new Prime asset. And because Prime assets are the biggest and most important parts of the game, alongside the addition of the biggest game mode, PvP, aka Invasions, it absolutely warranted a guide style video. But if you guys would like smaller scale videos whenever new content comes out for the Outlast Trials, please let me know. Also, reminders to everyone to use timestamps if you only want to skip to the imposter segments of the video. But with that being said, come on, old pal Reagent, let's hop back into that trial shuttle. And like always, allow me to set the mood.
You said escape was impossible.
So, since my last video, there has been a lot of new content added to the Senyala facility. And if you haven't seen my last video, I would totally recommend you check it out before you finish watching this one. But if we take a look at the photo of our very happy family of Prime assets, here we have our amazing father, the racist and electric cop, our mother, the schizophrenic and delusional Gooseberry, the stupid baby that should have died at birth, Franco, and our always loving and incestuous grandparents, Otto and Aurora. And now that we're all gathered around the Christmas tree, what brand new member of the family is joining us as the newest Prime asset? Well, I guess we were really good reagents this year, as our wonderful grandparents, Otto and Aurora, got us a Christmas gift. I can't wait to see what it is! Huh? What the hell? Why the fuck would they give us a praying mantis?
Fixated on your faith leaves you distracted, terribly vulnerable to something very real. Sister Liliya Bogomolova, an evangelist and priestess, a voice of peace, calling out for blood, an ascetic dripping in hoarded treasure. She's a woman of God, a custodian of miracles, the product of a half-century of war and corruption, an avenging angel of divine retribution. She's waiting.
I am today.
She's gonna make you believe.
Oh, that's why. Looks like we're getting gifted the very first stealth prime asset, Liliya Bogomolova, and she is quite the threat. Now, personally, I couldn't understand why Red Barrels would make a new prime asset so fast. But, considering how she works in her gameplay, I totally understand why they wanted to get her in the game as fast as possible, as she is definitely the most unique prime asset in the game by far. Liliya operates very differently from any other prime asset. As I mentioned, Liliya is a stealth prime asset, so unlike that little cross-eyed fucker Franco and Otto and Aurora with a 360 camera angle, you won't be able just to see her and know where she is from the start and start running away like every other prime asset. That's because of her extremely unique ability. And what exactly is that unique ability, you might be asking? Well... Liliya will be hiding as one of the mannequins around the map, and there's quite a lot of them. So as you're walking around, you'll see different versions of her in basically every room you enter, not knowing which one is actually her. And to throw you off even more, all the mannequins will play Liliya's voice lines to make you even more confused. But thankfully, there are quite a few ways to know which mannequin Liliya is hiding inside before she decides to give up the facade and start attacking you. Firstly, if you are using the notable tool of all unrenowned goats of the Outlast Trials, the Jammer, and you have the Corrupt Enemies upgrade, if you go to any mannequin and don't get a charge on your Jammer, it's not her. However, if you do start to get a charge, from there you can make her puke. And if you're one of the two players that use the X-ray rig and think that you're going to be at an advantage, well, you're wrong, because Murkoff have gone the extra mile and stuffed every single one of those Liliya mannequins with an actual corpse. So when you use the X-ray, all you're going to see is bones inside of all of them. But better than the X-ray rig, if you got a bottle or a brick, you can find out pretty quick if Liliya is hiding inside that mannequin just by throwing it at it. Now, I personally think that Liliya is by far the scariest prime asset in the game, along with the paranoia that the mannequins cause, and how fast and quickly she'll start chasing you down when she finds you, and that little sound you can hear that she makes while she's running is absolutely terrifying. I mean, just look at this shit. Oh, okay. Damn, Liliya. I didn't know you knew how to do the hand thing like that.
I heard you're doing the hand thing today. God, what is that?
Also, Liliya is the only prime asset that can utilize hiding spots, being able to go in them, waiting to pounce on you. And I mean, this shouldn't really be surprising considering she is a Russian hunter. But now that we have properly been introduced to our newest family member, Sister Liliya Bogomolova, I think it's about time we finally head over to her trial environment and see the absolute horrors that we'll have to do.
You are the negotiator. Human life is just one more product, an amusement for those with enough money to do anything they want. A fresh plaything is up for auction. Destroy the lot, despoil its value, and we will let you out.
Welcome to the resort. Here we're going to be doing the main trial, Despoil the Auction.
Donors and exclusively donors.
Did he just call me a fucking gooner? Now, before we get into the objective, it's very important to know that while in the resort trial environment, we will be introduced to the freezing mechanic. Now, unlike the scary alarm sound that plays right before a cold snap, the freezing mechanic just means if you're in an area of the map covered in snow, you'll start to freeze. Unless you enter an inside area, find a heater, which you can turn on by completing a generator. Now, I have to say, if you haven't played this trial solo by yourself for your very first experience, I would totally recommend you do that first, as this trial is very unique and genuinely feels like a step up in difficulty compared to some of the other trials. But once you find a heat source or turn one on, all you'll have to do is stand near it to gain warmth. Now that you're familiar with the freezing mechanic, we'll head to the other side of the resort to unplug a couple batteries, allowing us to get the stag key that will allow us into the resort. And once we finally enter the resort, we must make our way to the auction room, and there we will properly meet our brand new sister.
Open the door! Open the door! I love you!
Well, now that we met her, we can finally start working on completing the trial. But to complete the trial, we're gonna need enough gems to buy ourselves into the auction. Too bad we can't combine these gems, because I know someone who would buy them at quite a high price. But in order to find the gems, they're only in one place on the map, the very same mannequins that Liliya is hiding inside of. So in order to obtain the gems, you're gonna want to get the portable blacklight, and from there you can shine it on the Liliya mannequins. If there's a skull symbol, grabbing the gem will result in instant psychosis. But if you see a dollar sign, you'll be safe to grab it and use it to buy your way into the auction. But we're going to need quite a lot of gems to buy our way into the auction. So as we make our way through the resort, we're going to find different VIP mannequins that are holding animal-themed keys. In order to get the keys, just like we did for the very first one to get into the resort, we're just going to need to follow the wire and unplug the batteries, allowing us to get the keys to open up different parts of the resort to find more mannequins with gems to cover the rest of the balance. There's a total of 4 keys, and once we obtain the very last one, it will allow us to get into the basement of the resort, where there is a lot of Liliyas laying around, with just enough to cover the rest of the balance. Once we're done paying our balance for the auction, we'll be allowed to see in on what's being auctioned off. And yeah, considering this is the Outlast Trials, I'm not surprised to see a woman tied up on that table. But fuck! Even though the main objective of all these trials is always killing another person, Red Barrels went to another level by putting an actual photo of the person that we're killing for this trial just up there for everybody to see. Now that's pretty fucked up. But after the main prize of the auction is raised, we must take the numbers out of their post and replace them with cranks that are hidden down in the basement. Once all the cranks are put into their post, you can begin tearing that poor woman limb from limb one at a time until her eventual demise, and from there, we'll have to escape and head back into the sleep room. Now, I also do want to mention that there is a cool secret that you can do within this trial to unlock a secret skin, but I'm going to be covering that for another video where I'll go over all the hidden rewards in the Outlast Trials and how to unlock them. And that basically covers all the main content for the Outlast Trials Season 5. But even though I did hear the rumors of the PvP mode before I put out my last video, I thought that content was going to be released in Season 5, not about 2 weeks after I put out my hour-long video. And now I'm incorrect about saying that the Outlast Trials is not an asymmetrical horror game. As well, I still wouldn't classify the Outlast Trials as an asymmetrical horror game, but it now has an asymmetrical horror element to it. So because of that, I know what most of you are probably thinking. Whoa, PvP in a game that's about working as a team against computer enemies? How could they do this? This sucks. This will just cause balance issues and just become another dead asymmetrical horror like the rest of them. Shut the fuck up. Invasions can be turned off so you don't even have to deal with it, and you can continue to play the game as normal, and the imposters will spawn in, but they'll be the computer-controlled imposters that you're used to, so you don't even have to play with the invasions mechanic. Anyways, during the time of me making that video, the imposters were bugged, and I was expecting that they were bugged for lore reasons and were going to be replaced with PvP. And I'm glad I waited a little bit longer to make that PvP video, as Red Barrels has made some changes with the Season 5 update that, in my opinion, completely reworked how Invasions is meant to be played. Having imposters be more of a disruption in the trial than being dead set on killing you, and even though of course that is their main goal. So how exactly does PvP work? Well, just like everything else, you'll have to go up to the sleep room terminal, and from there you'll see the brand new permanent therapy, Invasions. And from there you can choose to play as a reagent or an imposter, or to quick play going between both of them for some extra XP. Now, you might notice the seasonal ranking, and you might say to yourself, there's no fucking way that they added ranked to the Outlast Trials. And don't worry, they didn't. It's more of an incentive to keep playing the game mode over the non-invasions modes. And there are exclusive rewards locked behind it, and I personally think it's a great and healthy system, as it rewards players that want to play the invasion mode, and it gives them a ranked ladder to climb to get some exclusive cosmetics and rewards to show off your dedication to the invasions mode. It's also very important to note that you can get invaded while not playing the invasions game mode if your invasion settings are set to public. So, if you don't want to deal with getting invaded and you just want to play the game normally, you might want to turn it off, but you can still allow the ability for only your friends to join you and come fuck you over. But with that being said, let's go over how to play the invasions mode as a reagent. Firstly, before I explain how to play as an imposter. Now, with the Outlast Trials being a live service game, now that we have an active PvP mode, there is going to be consistent hot fixes that will change the rules for balancing purposes. So, as of right now, as of the current update, I am going to give you my own personal, unrenowned GOAT of the Outlast Trials strategy for surviving invasions. And as much as I promise this game is nothing like Dead by Daylight and you should never treat it as such, I'm going to be showing you the best reagent build for invasions. Now again, this is just my personal opinion, and if anyone in the comments wants to share their own strategies or builds or opinions, please go on ahead and do so. Now, even though I love the jammer, it is the best idea to bring the stun, as unlike the computer-controlled X-Pops, the imposters won't lose you as easy, so it's best to be able to stun them. Alongside that, the stun is a very important tool in something I would like to call the quick little 1-2. But that involves a friend having the jammer, but we'll get into that later. And now that we have your rig selected, let's move on to your amps. Starting off with your tool, you're going to want to either bring Recycle, allowing you to turn any health bottle into a throwing item, meaning you can get hit by an imposter, run away, get some distance, drink that health, and have it turn into some defense. Additionally, you could run Keymaster to grab every lockpick imaginable to try and obtain as much rig rechargers as possible for your stun, so you can stand in the rain and watch the lightning cast down with God's judgment. But moving on to the skills, I'm gonna be brutally honest, I have never taken Smash off, and I never fucking will. And I recommend you use it too, but Quick Escape is the only other one I could see potential value out of. And lastly, for your medicine, it's always good to use the reliable Last Chance just in case that final swing comes from an X-Pop, so you can avoid the down. But to be honest, in most cases, the imposter is realistically just gonna one-shot you, and unless you have a bottle or a brick to defend yourself, that stab is going to be brutal. Considering that last chance doesn't even work against imposters, so I recommend bringing Boosted, as you have a chance for a health booster or a stamina booster inside of an MK challenge, unless you get fucked over by getting the battery booster. But it's really nice when you get the health booster, as with Recycle, you'll get a bottle right off the bat. And now that you have your loadout figured out, it's about time we hop into a trial and get invaded. When playing as a Reagent in the Invasions game mode, you'll be thrown into a random trial or MK, but the pools of trials and MKs that it can choose is quite small when you start off. And as you play more and more of the Invasions game mode, you'll unlock more trials and MKs, alongside the difficulty being increased and secondary objectives becoming mandatory. When you start the trial, the imposter might not even be there yet. They'll typically join anywhere from a couple seconds to about a minute after the trial begins, but they won't be allowed to spawn in until you make a little bit of progress within the trial. But if you sit around and take too long, obviously it will allow them to spawn in, and there is one big difference between invasion imposters and regular imposters, as obviously invasion imposters will be real players hunting you down. But they won't be controlling the experimental population, fuck yeah, I said it right this time, or the prime assets. As the name states, they will be controlling the imposter enemies. So, hypothetically, if you're playing solo and get invaded, you'll be getting hunted down by another player masquerading as you, which in my opinion is just a little bit creepy. But as a Reagent, try your best to not make any noise like stepping on glass or running through cans, as if you do, it will highlight you to the imposter. So if you avoid making loud noises, it will make it harder for the imposters to find you. But keep in mind, every single time an imposter spawns in, they'll see your location for about 3 seconds, and they'll also get notified when you make progress within the trial, so as much as you try to hide, they'll probably eventually find you. And when playing solo, it is best to focus on completing the objective and getting out as fast as possible, as just because it's invasions doesn't mean the trials are changing. You'll still have to deal with all the regular enemies, traps, and bullshit while trying to do your main objective alongside the real player hunting you down. So avoid death as much as possible, as you only have 3 lives, unless you are very fortunate enough to find a respawn pill. Now, even in solos, you can be invaded up to 2 other players, but only one of them can be in the trial environment at once. So you're probably wondering, well, what's the other imposter doing? Well, you might have noticed these brand new security cameras installed all over the trial environments. Not to be getting them confused with the other security cameras from under surveillance, these security cameras are what the imposters use when they're not in the trial environments to stalk and find us. Being able to see through all of the cameras, allowing the imposters to ping you so they can know where you are and give information to their potential teammates. So it's pretty worth it to use those bottles and bricks to deny them information quick, as if you throw a bottle or a brick at a security camera, it will permanently disable it for the imposters. And because the less the imposters know, the better, as imposters are probably the most deadly enemy in the entire facility, as once one of them finds you, they will probably relentlessly chase you down or stalk you until the perfect time to strike with the stab attack that will instantly kill you, unless you got a bottle or a brick to knock them off quick. So you're definitely going to want to avoid them at all costs. But it's quite difficult, as you have no real way to know exactly where they are, except for when your heart drops after hearing the audio stinger that plays when you come across them. Now, I know you might feel super paranoid and stressed knowing that someone is dressed up as yourself or one of your friends and is actively trying to hunt you down and murder you. Well, don't worry, because even though we're in this facility, we still have the Second Amendment. But since we don't have a small penis, we're not trying to compensate by owning a Lupara like some other little crybaby bitch in this facility. So you're probably wondering, what are we even gonna do with the Second Amendment without a gun? Well, turns out that bottles and bricks are the real key to ending those fuckers quick. Well, maybe not that quick, but you are able to fight back against the imposters using quite a few different tools, as you can hit them with bottles and bricks, kick them off your teammates, and scramble their brains with the jammer. And also, don't forget to use your jammer to switch traps against the imposters, as they typically won't expect it, and I promise you, you will catch some imposters off guard with Franco's tripwire traps. Now, while in chase with an imposter, you're really going to want to make sure that imposter gets off your tail. So, while running through doors, if you close the door while running through it, you'll shut the door on the imposter, and if they're close enough, it will even knock them over, making them take even longer to catch up to you, or in some cases, even completely lose you. Now, sometimes you might fuck this up and end up on the same side of the door as the imposter and get hit. But hey, it happens to the best of us. And always remember to lock doors behind you to gain extra distance. And if you're feeling really risky, if an imposter is chasing you and they're just close enough to you and you run on a mine, it will blow up, dealing a bracket of damage to the imposter as well, but I would not recommend doing this. And as I mentioned, with multiple imposters being able to invade you, as you would probably expect, you can still be playing with your friends, and when you get invaded, if you have a party of 4, get ready for shit to get pretty hectic, as 2 imposters will be unleashed at once. But once the main objective of the trial is completed, all imposters are unleashed into the trial environments. Now, remember that quick little 1-2 I mentioned earlier with the jammer and stun? Well, luckily, if you're playing with at least one other friend, you're going to be able to execute this pretty flawlessly, as once you find the imposter, all you're really going to need to do is hit them with the stun as the other player charges the jammer. Once this step is completed, you will unleash your inventory full of throwables in a very respectful manner until that little poser is dead. And imposters only have 2 lives, so if you get invaded by one person and kill them twice, it will remove them from your lobby, which I have to say, as an unrenowned goat of the Outlast Trials, there is not a bigger dopamine rush than killing the imposter when I'm supposed to be the victim. It makes playing the Reagent feel like you're not just set up to die every single time to the imposters. It feels like I not just have a fighting chance to complete the objectives, but also send someone home packing. See you guys later! Kill them 4 times and then even kill us once. It's fucking wild. But again, I would only recommend attempting to kill the imposters if you're playing with a friend, as in solos, it's not impossible to kill them, but a little bit more difficult. But in solos, it's way better to use your resources to fight back against the imposter when you run into them. And you really should be focusing on completing the main objective and collecting the secondary one as fast as you can. But now that we have died over and over and over again in this facility, it's about time that we finally wield the knife and we wear the mask, as we will be becoming the imposters. But before we do, we should probably head over to the pharmacy, because just in case you don't know, there are exclusive pharmaceuticals for the imposter role, and if you do not have them, you will be significantly hindered, so make sure you buy them all. When playing as an imposter, after dealing with a 5 to 10 minute long queue, or just straight up not finding a match, you'll eventually load in and be put into the security cameras I mentioned earlier. From there, you'll watch the reagent stumble around and complete the first process in the trial, and from there, you will have the ability to spawn in. But before I get into all of that, I want to mention, unlike other games where you're given the option to play as the role of the killer, you can typically hop right in and start slaughtering. And if you think you're going to be able to do that in this game, then good fucking luck! Because if you play the imposter without any idea of what the Outlast Trials really is, and you're just here because you want to kill people, you're going to have a really bad and confusing time. Despite being one of the enemies for the reagents, you are still a target of the prime assets and XPOP. And because of the amount of trials and MKs in the game, if you're a new player, you have virtually no way of knowing what you're supposed to even stop the reagents from doing. And like I stated earlier, the goal of the imposters have shifted from killing the reagents to more of disrupting and hurting them. Obviously, killing all of the reagents and ending their trial is the best scenario for you and your team, but I wouldn't count on it. As you've probably noticed while playing Imposter, your Imposter grade is visible at all times, and it will go up the more you do basic things like attack reagents and use insertion gates. So you can actually still get a good grade and have a few reagents get out, and you won't necessarily feel like you lost the match. This feature was absent before the Season 5 update, which is another reason I'm glad I held out on making that video. But with that being said, how exactly do you play as an imposter? Well, it's quite similar to playing as a reagent, but this time your rig is your knife and you can slash the reagents and do small damage, or you can charge up your stab. When you charge up your stab and you're close enough to a reagent, you'll be able to stab them, which is an unavoidable insta-kill that last chance and invasive maneuvers won't even save them from. Unless, of course, they have a bottle or a brick, or one of their teammates are nearby, they'll be able to hit you off. Additionally, you'll also have a fake item that you can hold up to try and fool some people, and you can also hide in hiding spots to pounce out on reagents, absolutely brutalizing them. But the most important thing to notice is what trial or MK you are currently playing on, as the goal of the imposter, it doesn't really tell you what the goal of the reagents are, and as the reagents are just expected to complete the trial or MK just like normal. But because if you have a pretty good understanding of what the objectives are, you can be way more deadly towards the reagents, as instead of just running around looking for them, keep in mind on what trial or MK you're currently on, and if you have enough trauma from playing as a reagent, then you should know the specific objectives and goals that they need to complete. So you can stick around those areas that you know that they need to go, and you can charge up your stab and hide around a corner you know they will eventually have to turn. But it's not a good idea to waste all your time with a charged up stab just sitting around objectives waiting for them to eventually get there, as that will just hinder you more than anything and is kind of boring. But another way to get easy stabs off is when you find reagents getting pounced by a pouncer or caught in a door trap, as you can just charge up your stab, and when they break free, you will instantly grab them and go in for the kill. Of course, unless they have a bottle or a brick. But I won't lie, hiding near something that the reagent has to come to, like objectives or their own teammate's dead body, just for you to stab them to death and even sometimes hear their reaction, is absolutely priceless.
I had a brick too. Oh, of course he told me in one go.
But keep in mind, you're only on about a 3-minute timer out in the trial environment before you're told to go back into an insertion gate, and if you don't, Murkoff will start to shock you to death. And you're really going to want to avoid taking damage, as the more damage you take from X-Pops, players, bottles, bricks, and rigs will make your respawn timer even longer. And if you end up dying, you will get the longest cooldown possible. And if you die twice, you will be removed from the match and lose the invasion. When you do run out of time and enter an insertion gate, you'll be put back into the cameras to look for reagents until it's time to go back out. This way, it makes it so the imposters aren't always in the environments, so it gives the reagents a moment to breathe and complete some objectives. And if you're playing with your friends, it gives you time to alternate between which one of you are out in the trial environment at once. So when one player is being the imposter hunting down the reagent in the trial environment, the other player will be in the camera, and while being in the camera, you can watch for reagents and you'll be able to ping them for your teammates. Man, viewing all of this carnage through a camera, Makes me feel like I'm playing my sweet old Resident Evil Resistance again. But while in the trial environment, you should always focus on throwing the reagents off of what they're doing and try and pressure them, and take advantage of whenever they're being chased by other enemies, and of course, make them suffer. If you really want to focus in on the kill, every time you hit them with your knife, they will start to bleed, leaving a very small but physical blood trail that you can follow like an old hound dog to hunt them down. Additionally, when you spot a reagent, before you lose sight of them, give them a quick ping, as, well, you guessed it, it will ping them for an additional couple seconds to see where they're going. While playing as an imposter, your knowledge on the map layout of the trial environment is also very important, not just for chasing reagents, but navigating the trial environments as an imposter can be quite tricky, especially if you're a newer player. And now personally, I've had a lot of people ask me how I've memorized the layout of every single trial environment and objectives to every level, and to that, I say go play 100 hours of Escalation alone and you'll get it down in no time. Well, it looks like that has been all the new content that has been released since the release of my last video. But of course, we know that Season 6 is in the spring, so I can only imagine that Red Barrels would want to stuff even more content into the game. So hopefully, I'll see you around for my guide video for Season 6, and my secret reward video, and some other ideas that I have. But if you guys have any other ideas for other Outlast Trials related videos, please let me know down in the comments. But this time, we're not escaping the facility, we're staying right here, so we don't have to worry about that ugly milk-guzzling age regressor leaving little bits and pieces of my brain all over the wall, so I can actually properly do my outro this time. So with that being said, behavior! Please give Chucky a Phantom of the Opera skin. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.